Kishane Thompson should call Glen Mills for this secret. Hello, people. Surprise, surprise. Let's talk about some sports business today. I am not a professional coach or anything, just my layman's take on what I saw. Fans talk because that is all they can do, and sometimes they even get it right. I feel like I saw a few details that I view as obvious. Gabby took the 200 meters race today. Girl, you are too determined to lose. Bad girl, you. Congrats. Julien Alfred, you go really hard this time. Two medals already. You deserve your glory. Yeah, you deserve your glory, girl. Firstly, it was a good run between Kishane Thompson and Lyles at the Olympics, where by natural eyes it seemed to most people that Kishane had won. So I don't know why people are making all this big hullabaloo and the announcer that declared that Kishane won. Most people thought he won because that's what it seemed like with your naked eye. Most people thought so. However, after the check, it was a tie. I mean, there were some talks about some insignificant digits in favor of Lyles. But you don't even get it. Naturally, a race like this should have simply been seen as the phenomenon it was. It was a tie, and the tiebreaker should have been set for 4 years later at the next Olympics. In true honesty, saying that any one of these men won was unfair to the other. Even Noah felt that Kishane won. In fact, he told him so. It was a draw, and to the naked eyes, it easily seemed like Kishane won. However, we saw so many foolish decisions in these Olympic Games in France that it was bedazzling. I saw Shakari Richards and Shelley Fraser Price being locked off and prevented from getting to their warm up area, foolishly and ungodly so. From that moment, I felt like before they ended that hour long walk to the next entrance in the heat of France, they were not going to be ready or they were not going to be at their best. Julien Alfred is a very good runner who I really love to watch. But I don't think that Shakari was at her best, right? Fear is fear. I feel like she was sabotaged by stupid decisions made in France. I noticed that Shelley and Fraser dropped out of the race. For an athlete struggling with injuries and having to go through all that one long walk, maybe an hour, it easily gets to the point where you weigh the balance. And maybe you find that you are just that one step short after all the hassle. I doubt there could have been a worse Olympic than that one in France. No, back to Kishane. I am not going to say that a faster runner was beaten by a slower runner, but at least the faster runner allowed the slower runner to run up on him, and there was a tie. Whatever the judges or anyone say won't change my mind. I saw what I saw. It was a tie. R. Kishane won. I will say that what happened was partly Kishane's fault, but it was bigger than Kishane. It was almost a culture that I have seen from other athletes from his camp. People like him, people liken him to Asava Powell, but it can't be. They have different personalities, and Kishane is way more mentally tough. We see Asafa being chased down or beaten close to the line. We see it with Kishane and we see it with Sherika, even though she is tough. She is a tough 200 runner, you know, and she has the power to blast through a 100-meter race. But sometimes it almost seems like she does that thing too. There is this shutdown culture in that half of Jamaican sprinting. And the Americans who are top end killers will show that up all day. Yeah. The way Americans beat Jamaicans are always at the top end. However, that does not go for runners like Usain Bolt and Johan Blake at their best. Now, back to Asafa. At first, you could see Asafa running a full race and blasting through the finish line as is typical of Glen Mills trained runners. You see them blast through the finish line before easing up because that's how Seville runs. Then with Asafa, you would see him blast through before easing up. Then after a while, he began to have injury problems, coupled with that what seemed like a lack of mental toughness, and his game began to end after the first 50. Then people began to chase him down. He always probably just step out in front and then people begin to chase him down. Then he would have his quick start, but he would be behind very quickly. It evolved. Bolt's race began after the first 40, and that is similar to the American running culture top end. Not that a quick start is not favorable, but what do you do with someone in front of you? I mean, you make a quick start, but someone is quicker than you. Sometimes it is not about the speed, but about execution, right? So, yeah, there is speed, but there's also execution. Sometimes, because the runner has cultivated this shutdown culture, he or she is running and subconsciously shutting down. A Shakari Richards is going to blow past a Sherika Jackson at the last minute while she is figuring that she had already won. Just like what happened to Kishane recently. In the Olympics, Kishane was about ready to celebrate after shutting down across the line. I doubt he knew that he was shutting down, but that was what his body was used to. Noah Lyles is used to chasing them and catching them eventually, at least before they make it home. Lyles is used to charging his at his best speed across the finish line. That's where he has his greater run. Watch his race then when he's chasing people down. And that's when he's running at his best. Right? People with this shutdown culture are slowing up right there. This is what Noah Lyles did again. Now, people will look and think, but Usain Bolt did this. He shut down too. Yes, Usain Bolt did it for fun. But that was Usain Bolt. And he is not the same as anyone else. Who the heck are you? Besides, not even the great Gatlin or Tyson Gay could chase down a Usain Bolt at his authentic top end speed unless he was not even fit to run on a day. When Usain Bolt ran his crazy top end, he was breaking records. Or at Tyson Gay or Gatlin so successfully in chasing and conquering could just tighten up and give up. And the race could even be slow, but they knew they could not go past, for he was not unable to accelerate. At his top end, he's always an in a position that he can accelerate at will. Not like Kishane shutting down and then you can't accelerate if somebody is running up on you. It's a difference. When you shut down, you have to watch the guy with the momentum drive past you. You can't do anything about it. The Americans do that very well. Chase down people because they work on the top end. You will hardly see that shutting down mentality in a Glen Mills coach athlete. And don't call Usain Bolt's name, I say. He could do any damn thing he liked and get away with it. The closest we ever got to a Usain Bolt is Kishane Thompson, who has something that Bolt does not have or did not display. Kishane can blunder at his starts, but he also has a naturally better start than Bolt. He can build momentum faster and then learn to carry through to the entire race without shutting down. And imagine, Kishane has his starting problems, and he should be. When you have a weakness, then you think about your strength. So his height and everything, and at the top end, he should have been working at the top end more to at least capitalize on his strength more because of his weakness sometimes that he cannot execute the proper start as he like, right? So he can build momentum faster than Bolt, if he has a better start, he can build momentum faster and then learn to carry through to the entire race without shutting down. And that would be a phenomenon if he get that right. But at the moment, with him sometime not executing that proper start, he should be so highly focused at the top end because that's where he can work well with his better top end speed because he has those legs and stuff. So he should be the one walking past people instead of people walking past him at the top end. There is no such thing as a shutting down. Why is it even a thing? You must run as fast as you can from one end of the field to the next. You begin to shut down when your back spike crosses the finishing line. Period. Okay. But rounds, if you are running rounds, you might want to learn to manage races for conservation of energy. I get that. When Kishin ran that last race at Champs was when I became worried about his run. Kishan was worried about shutting down when he was running his very last race, the final, after which he would be on a rest period before the games. I asked myself, so why is shutting down a thing in a final run? I did not remember Bolt or Shellyan shutting down in the final run, but it seemed Kishane was shutting down. I repeat, sometimes it is not about speed, it is about execution and control. The Glen Mills trained civil, hmm, oblique civil, could use a slower time to beat Noah Lyles. He could be running slower than Kishane, but he's going to beat Noah Lyles. And I'm going to show you why. He could be running at a 9-8 and keeping Lyles behind him. Why? He takes a good start. He is running through the entire race. And Lyles, who loves to chase down runners, do not see the gap closing. And it's frustrating. On the other hand, Kishane draws Lyles into defeating him. He's like telling him, come and defeat me. Lyle is there when Kishane is shutting down and will speed to close the gap faster because the gap is closing. So it's a matter of you just trying to run and close the gap before you hit the finishing line or before the opponent hits the finishing line. So you are concentrating on the gap closing because it is closing. So Kishane, being the faster runner, will only help Noah Lyles to do PBs. Kishane must run through the match. Change the shutdown culture. There are times when you must manage runs to save energy, but it cannot become a habit. You could see it so much that when Kishane was nearing the line in front, it seemed he was slowing to cross over instead of blasting through. He was thinking about finishing, not accelerating. You accelerate until you cross the finish line, not slow down, and you think of nothing else. So subconsciously it seemed that he is going to slow down as soon as he gets near to the line. Maybe he has to chase the finishing line to 20 meters away in his mind. Run 120 meters if that will help. Do you wonder why Civil, even if running a slower time, is still fighting to accelerate crossing the finish line, which is a threat to Lyles if he is behind Civil? Maybe it is a Glen Mills thing, I know, or I don't know. You have to run as fast as you can to go as fast as you can. Kishane is quite young, and now is the best time to do all his best for everything about his career. How does Oblique Civil manage to beat Lyles? And will it and will do it again? Over and over, he will. How does Civil manage to do that? I don't know. Maybe Kishane could call Glen Mills and ask him what the trick is. Peace out.